Hi there, I'm Pete Nicholson. I'm the coach of the Burton debate team. And today we have 4 top-notch debaters here to demonstrate a round of public forum debate, which is the format used in high school debate in Vermont. I hope you enjoy it.
My name is Evelyn Martin. My partner and I are representing the pro side in this debate, and the resolution is resolved: the United States federal government should require technology companies to provide lawful access to encrypted communications. Okay. My partner and I strongly affirm the resolution: resolved, the United States federal government should require technology companies to provide lawful access to encrypted communications. Encryption, the backbone of modern digital security, was designed to protect privacy. Yet in its current unfettered form, it paradoxically empowers the very actors our justice system seeks to constrain. According to a 2023 study conducted at Kent State University, 90% of contemporary crimes involve a digital component, and encryption has created what experts aptly call a lawless space, where perpetrators operate with impunity. From the distribution of child sex abuse material to the coordination of drug, arms, and human trafficking, criminals exploit unassailable encryption to evade accountability. We support our position with 3 main contentions. I will now address our first contention: encryption enables the proliferation of criminal activity. Christopher Wray, former FBI director, described unbreakable encryption as a, quote, urgent public safety concern in 2018, noting law enforcement's challenges accessing electronic evidence despite court orders, and amid a growing number of cases reliant on such data. Across the United States, the FBI states that approximately 17,000 criminal cases have stalled because law enforcement cannot access encrypted communications. Criminals leverage encryption to orchestrate illicit networks, distributing child sex abuse material, trafficking drugs and firearms, and even selling ghost guns online, with tangible, devastating consequences for society. As Ray warned, this growing going dark problem is simply unsustainable for public safety. Encryption transforms these crimes into near impenetrable operations, allowing illegal transactions to occur with minimal risk of detection. In effect, encryption is not merely a technical tool, it is a structural facilitator of criminality. As the FBI itself stated, encryption as currently implemented poses real barriers to law enforcement's ability to seek information threatening global security. I will now discuss our second contention: encryption obstructs justice and punishes the innocent. According to the National Criminal Justice Research documents, digital evidence handling and accessibility are core to investigations and post-conviction review. When digital evidence is unavailable, exoneration opportunities can be blocked. Encryption does not merely shield the guilty, it also could impede the exoneration of the innocent. Modern justice is predicated upon access to evidence, digital evidence. When investigators cannot access key data, victims' rights are violated and wrongful impunity persists. A 2022 Department of Justice study on encryption's impact noted that inaccessible digital evidence has blocked access to exculpatory materials in countless cases, directly preventing exonerations and allowing factual innocence claims to remain unresolved despite court warrants. Lawful access ensures that the justice system functions equitably, protecting both societal security and individual rights, and preventing encryption from becoming a shield for injustice. I will now address our third and final contention: lawful access is achievable without compromising privacy. Opponents often invoke a backdoor fallacy, asserting that governmental access inherently undermines cybersecurity. Empirical evidence and legislative frameworks contradict this. The proposed U.S. Lawful Access to Encrypted Data Act demonstrates how lawful access can be carefully regulated. Access is granted only under judicial oversight. Modern side door approaches make this safe by splitting the decryption key into multiple fragments, each held by independent custodians, including privacy advocates. No single custodian can access the data alone, and a legal process is required to reconstruct the key for a specific investigation. Once access is granted, the key fragments remain secure, and encryption remains intact for everyone involved. These approaches have proven to be overwhelmingly successful. In fact, the technology companies that would be affected by the result have utilized it themselves, including Microsoft's BitLocker and Apple's FileVault, showing that such lawful access is both practical and ethical. These frameworks save lives, enable prosecutions, and protect citizens' private communications without creating universal vulnerabilities. The evidence is clear. Encryption currently functions as a shield for criminal activity, obstructs justice, and leaves law enforcement powerless in countless investigations. For the safety of our communities and the efficacy of our justice system, my partner and I strongly affirm the resolution. Thank you, that's my time.
My name is Kobe Addington, and I am on the con team. Opponents, are you ready?
Yes.
Partner, are you ready?
Yes.
My time starts now. My partner and I negate the proposal that the United States federal government should force technology companies to provide lawful access to encrypted communications. Not because I oppose safety, but because this mandate would create far more risks dangerous than the ones it claims to solve. Let me make 3 things unmistakably clear. Contention 1. A backdoor for the government is a backdoor for everyone. The government promises safe access, controlled entry, even golden keys, but in cybersecurity, that fantasy does not exist. A backdoor is vulnerability. According to Comparetext research, since 2014, there have been 1,283 separate breaches in United States government entities affecting over 200 million records. And once you build a weakness into encryption, it becomes a target, not just for investigators, but for hackers, foreign intelligence agencies, ransom war gangs, and hostile governments. Every major cybersecurity institution, the NSA, CISA, NIST, top university, agree. You cannot create a backdoor only the good guys can use. So this proposal isn't about security, it's about building a flaw into the digital locks that protect our power grids, hospitals, banks, small businesses, and families. Weakening encryption doesn't stop criminals, it exposes all of us. Contention 2. This hands the government too much power over private life. Let's be honest about what encryption protects. Your bank records, your medical history, your personal conversations, your photos, and your identity. It shields journalist sources, victims of abuse, political descendants, and everyday Americans who simply want privacy. Forcing tech companies to break that protection gives the government the ability to unlock private lives and to store that information in centralized systems. Even with warrants, it expands surveillance power in a way that history has shown will be abused. Every time we say it's just for safety, these powers extend, and they never fully shrink back. This proposal nudges us towards a digital version of 1984, where the government holds the master key to every conversation we have. Contention 3, it damages U.S. technology, the economy, and even global stability. American tech products dominate the world because they are trusted. If the U.S. forces them to weaken encryption, global users will walk away from American companies, costing billions in business and destroying our competitive edge. Worse, criminals will simply move to offshore apps or custom encryption tools, so the only people left with weakened privacy will be ordinary Americans, not the terrorists, not the traffickers, and not the cyber criminals. This mandate doesn't stop crime, it just makes everyone else more valuable. My opponent speaks of how the government is so trustworthy and will work perfectly so that data is not breached, when according to the Business Digital Index, 75% of U.S. government agencies' websites have experienced data breaches. At the end of the day, weakening encryption does not protect us. It punishes innocent people, empowers cyber criminals, and hands the government a dangerous master key that no democracy should ever create. The safest future for America is not less encryption. It is strong encryption for all, without backdoors, without compromises, and without unlocking private lives of millions of citizens. Thank you.
You mentioned concerns about encryption disadvantages in the global market, yet the reality is the opposite. Countries worldwide, from the UK to Australia to India, are already moving towards lawful access mandates, so in reality it wouldn't actually damage our relationships in the global market.
I mean, all I want to say is that just the side door just opens another door, first of all, so encryption is just going to be more and more accessible. Second of all, just because the governments are moving towards this doesn't mean these private companies that actually want this protective lawful access are going to want the same thing.
Well, I do understand that we can't ensure that private companies will utilize it. We also know that there are 17,000 cases that are currently stalled with FBI cases alone, and we can't allow for criminal activity to continue to thrive behind closed doors simply because we're worried about small security risks. The security risk with side door encryption rather than backdoor encryption, which you had mentioned in your speech, is very, very minimal. It's nearly impossible to break through, and encryption isn't invaluable either. You're able to break through either, and with the use of side doors.
My opponents present 3 main contentions, but each of them rests on misunderstandings of both the—
Can you give us your name?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. I'm Alec Vartanian. I'm on the pro team. My opponents present 3 main contentions, but each of them rests on misunderstandings of both the technology and the policy we are defending. I will address their arguments in the order they were given. First, they claim a backdoor for the government is a backdoor for everyone. This is a powerful slogan, but slogans are not policy analysis. No one on the affirmative is advocating for a master key shoved into every device or a centralized vulnerability that hackers can exploit. We're advocating for lawful access, not a universal backdoor. There's a crucial difference. Modern key splitting, threshold decryption, and hardware-based secure enclaves do not create a single point of failure. They create controlled, auditable, case-specific access where no single party, including the government, possesses the full capability to decrypt anything on their own. The system only activates when a court issues a warrant and multiple independent custodians authorize the process. That is much more secure than the status quo. The negative is trying to frame this debate as a perfect privacy or catastrophic insecurity, but the real world isn't binary. Criminals already exploit unbreakable platforms like Signal and WhatsApp to traffic children, weapons, and fentanyl. Doing nothing already creates a backdoor, just one that only criminals can use. Second, they argue that lawful access gives the government too much power. This ignores both constitutional and statutory constraints. The Fourth Amendment already requires warrants for searches, even digital ones. The issue today isn't governmental overreach, it's government inability to execute legitimate court-approved searches. Encryption should not override a warrant. A locked phone shouldn't have more rights than a human being. Lawful access protects marginalized groups more, not less, because these communities are disproportionately harmed when violent criminals can operate digitally without consequence. Survivors of domestic abuse, stalking, and trafficking rely on digital evidence to prove their cases. When evidence is sealed behind impenetrable encryption, even with a warrant, they lose the ability to seek justice. This policy doesn't expand surveillance, it enforces due process. Warrantless mass surveillance is illegal and remains so under this proposal. My opponents are tilting at a straw man of unfettered government spying, which is simply not what the resolution or our advocacy supports. Third, they say lawful access harms the economy and global stability. The reality is the opposite. Countries worldwide, from the UK to Australia to India, are already moving toward lawful access mandates. If the US does nothing, that is what will erode our competitive advantage. US companies will either comply with foreign mandates anyway, or criminals will migrate to offshore platforms regardless. The negatives argument suggests that crime is inevitable, so we shouldn't even try to stop it. But lawful access is not theoretical. BitLocker, FileVault, and enterprise-grade encrypted systems already implement lawful access compatible designs that maintain trust and global market security. The sky did not fail. Finally, they accuse the affirmative of arguing for an ideal world. In fact, it is the negatives world that is unrealistic, one where absolute encryption somehow protects everyone equally, despite overwhelming evidence that it disproportionately protects criminals. The affirmative has been consistent and clear. The status quo of absolute inaccessible encryption is not sustainable for public safety, for justice, or for the innocent people our system is meant to protect. At the end of the day, the negative defends an absolutist encryption regime where privacy is not real, justice is impossible, and a warrant actually means nothing. For safety, fairness, and democratic responsibility, we strongly affirm the resolution.
I'm Joe Leopold, representing the con side. I'm going to give my refutation speech now. Is my partner ready?
Yes.
Are my opponents ready?
Yes.
Yes.
My time begins now. Judges, my opponent's entire case rests on one assumption, that a government's side door into encryption can be made completely secure. This assumption is not just wrong, it's dangerous. They pointed to Apple's BitLocker as evidence that secure access is possible, but the real-world evidence proves that that is false. In just the past 2 years, 2.6 billion personal records have been compromised in data breaches. That happened without universal government doors. The lesson is, clear systems already struggle to stay secure. Adding a permanent access point, no matter how scattered it is, simply multiplies the risk. Let's be clear about what this debate is actually about. The resolution requires technology companies to give the government constant access to encrypted data. That means a permanent side door mechanism to add lawful access or a key escrow. The technical reality doesn't change. Any intentional weakness is still a weakness. Encryption does not distinguish between good users and bad ones. One access exists and it can be exploited, regardless of the fact that it may be scattered. My opponent constantly claims side doors have nothing to do with backdoor systems that have constantly failed to secure our data. That is false. All side doors do is scatter the access points of a backdoor system to make them harder to reach. And while backdoor systems do provide substantial benefit compared to backdoors, they are not perfect. And this is not theoretical. According to cybersecurity experts and former intelligence officials, there has never been a backdoor that did not eventually get abused, and side doors are no different. The FBI itself lost control of its own hacking tool, the Vault 7 leak, which was then used by cyber criminals and foreign agitators. If even intelligence agencies cannot keep their access secure, the idea that private companies can do the same is a fantasy. My opponents claim encryption shields criminals, but serious criminals already use VPNs, foreign apps, and their own illegal encryption. The moment domestic encryption is weakened, criminals adapt immediately. The only people left exposed with side door or backdoor encryption are ordinary Americans. Hospitals, banks, journalisms, people with private photos, all of these must be protected. Encryption doesn't only protect criminals, they protect citizens. They defend them from cyber criminals that steal private photos, banking information, and even entire identities every day. Regardless of what my opponents say, side doors just do less than backdoor. Regardless of what my opponents say, side doors do less and cost more, and this is not sustainable.
Partner ready?
Yes.
Opponents ready?
Yes.
We understand your concern for backdoor approaches and even reciprocate it. Yet, judging that safe access to encrypted data can be maintained through side doors, how can you argue that lawful access to encryption will create security risks?
Because of the fact that there are not currently any major private companies incorporating and successfully incorporating side door encryption into their servers yet.
We cited both Apple and Microsoft as major companies using side doors.
And then I'm going to cite a source. I'm going to cite a cyber attack known as Project Midnight, as Midnight Blizzard, where Microsoft was breached.
We're not stating that side doors are infallible, just that they're more safe and easier for governments to access than backdoor and end-to-end encryption.
End-to-end encryption is maybe they are possible to access, but end-to-end encryption, while not possible for reaccess, is not breachable. Why would you be willing to sacrifice the security of millions for specific cases?
Because those specific cases are exactly the security that we're talking about and the lawful access that we're talking about.
But you do understand that getting rid of end-to-end encryption, regardless of what you replace it, will decrease people's security on the internet.
No, I disagree because we'd be increasing the security of people that are more at risk.
Fully end-to-end encryption is not compromised. I just presented an example of when side door encryption was compromised.
End-to-end encryption can be compromised.
And explain when.
In 2023, there was an attack on Microsoft as well, just as you said, before they had switched to side door encryption, where their BitLocker program was compromised.
Yeah, I believe that was due to a programming error. Where
I could say the same thing about your...
But in that case, end-to-end encryption wasn't done successfully because there was no connection between the two.
Well, you're talking about a perfect world in which every private company does end-to-end encryption successfully. We are talking about a real world where side door encryption has worked well.
Inside door encryption
doesn't have programming errors, as you said.
Inside door encryption, are you relying on constant passwords or variably changing passwords?
I don't believe that that's relevant to the conversation.
That is extremely relevant because constant passwords can always be breached if the physical password is changed.
Well, I'm not going into the specifics of different types of side doors when we're talking about lawful access as a whole.
My opponent concedes the argument.
I don't think you are making a real argument.
If the government gets power to see everybody's data, regardless of how it needs to get it, how can you stop them from seeing data you don't want them to see?
Because that's what a warrant is, and that's what a judge's job is, to be impartial and protect the security of its citizens.
And if a private company believes that a warrant was not issued lawfully, what are they supposed to do?
Go through due process and fight against that warrant.
That's our
But they're not going to because they believe in security as well.
I will now give the summary speech for the pro side. Is my partner ready?
Yes.
Are my opponents ready?
Yes.
My time begins now. The current paradigm is demonstrably failing. Today's round comes down to a simple question. Should privacy tools become immunity tools? We affirm that they should not. My partner and I have demonstrated that the status quo of unbreakable encryption is neither sustainable nor safe, and that lawful access is both necessary and achievable. I would like to revisit our three contentions as they remain compelling and undisputed. First, encryption enables the proliferation of criminal activity. As we mentioned earlier, a Kent State study shows that 90% of crimes have a digital component, yet encryption has created a lawless space where criminals operate without fear of detection. Former FBI Director Christopher Wray called this an urgent public safety concern, and the FBI reports that 17,000 cases have already stalled due to as investigators cannot access evidence, even with warrants. This includes child abuse networks, drugs and weapon trafficking, and even ghost gun sales. Encryption, as currently implemented, is not neutral, it is actively facilitating harm. Second, encryption obstructs justice and punishes the innocent. According to our aforementioned DOJ research, inaccessible digital evidence doesn't just protect the guilty, it blocks exonerations for the wrongfully accused. When key data is locked away, victims are denied justice, and innocent people cannot prove their innocence. Our justice system cannot function when essential evidence is sealed off by technology companies. Third, we have shown that lawful access is technologically feasible without sacrificing privacy. Opponents claim that access means universal vulnerability, but modern key-splitting and multi-custodian approaches prove otherwise. These systems require judicial oversight and prevent any single actor, including the government, from accessing data alone. International operations like Venetic demonstrate that frameworks save lives, dismantle criminal networks, and preserve everyday users' privacy. I would like to revisit my opponent's claims. First, they claim a backdoor for the government is a backdoor for everyone. This is a powerful slogan, but slogans are not policy analysis. No one on the affirmative is advocating for a master key shoved into every device or a centralized vulnerability that hackers can exploit. We're advocating for lawful access, not a universal backdoor. There's a crucial difference. Second, they argue that lawful access gives the government too much power. This ignores both constitutional and statutory complaints. The Fourth Amendment already requires warrants for searches, even digital ones. The issue today isn't governmental overreach, it's government inability to execute legitimate court-approved searches. Third, they say lawful access harms the economy and global stability. The reality is the opposite. Countries worldwide, from the UK to Australia to India, are already moving toward lawful access mandates. If the US does nothing, that is what will erode our competitive advantage. My partner and I would like to reaffirm the resolution. Thank you for your time.
Partner, are you ready?
Yes.
Opponents, are you ready?
Yes.
My time starts now. My partner and I stand firmly against any proposal to weaken end-to-end encryption by implementing side doors for government access. Let's bring back our core contentions and see why side door encryption is not only unsafe but fundamentally undermines the security of all users, while end-to-end encryption protects privacy, national security, and digital infrastructure. First of all, side doors create permanent vulnerabilities. Even if designed for lawful access, only side door vulnerabilities that attackers inevitably exploit. According to CRS, no credible cryptography researcher has demonstrated a way to build a lawful access mechanism into encryption that can only be used under lawful circumstances without compromising overall security. Also, in 2023, 21% of all cyber attacks exploited hidden access points or backdoors to breach systems. Real-world incidents like SolarWinds in 2020 shows that a single hidden access point can compromise 18,000 organizations, including federal agencies. Also, organizations cannot secure side doors. Even the most advanced companies struggle to secure standard encryption. Forcing them to maintain a side door only doubles the risk. Also, 61% of organizations experience unauthorized access or insider breaches in the past 2 years, which is one thing we have not talked about, but insider breaches and unlawful access is a problem that could still always happen. Also, side doors leave law-abiding citizens exposed while criminals adapt. Criminals do not obey encryption laws. They migrate to foreign or custom apps. Also, after Australia passed lawful access laws, criminals abandoned regulated apps, leaving ordinary citizens with weakened security. End-to-end encryption works and protects everyone. End-to-end encryption ensures only the sender and receiver can read messages. It protects financial transactions, medical records, and government corporate communications. So unlike side door, end-to-end encryption cannot be secretly exploited, which is why it is the foundation of a modern cybersecurity. Side door encryption is not a safety tool, it is a receipt for disaster. It creates guaranteed vulnerabilities, leaves ordinary citizens exposed, and gives criminals a roadmap to exploit weaknesses. End-to-end encryption, on the other hand, protects privacy, strengthens digital infrastructure, and keeps Americans safe. We do not need to compromise security for a hypothetical lawful access. The data, real-world breaches, and expert consensus all tell the same story. Side door encryption fails. End-to-end encryption works. For the safety of our citizens, our economy, and our digital freedom, we must preserve strong, unbroken end-to-end encryption. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Is my partner ready?
Yes.
Are my opponents ready?
Yes.
Our time begins now.
You're arguing that side doors are not secure and endanger the security of American citizens, yet the splitting of a decryption key renders it much more protected from hackers and possible for the government to access. How do you respond?
I agree. It makes it much more secure, but not 100% secure. I believe that everyone's data is 100% important, not 90, not 75.
So you're ignoring the existence of innocents who could be exonerated with the access to encrypted data?
No,
Well,
I'm
those are
just
17,000 cases that are currently solved.
no. I just feel like they're being you're just underweighing the weight of people's current privacy
But we are not
and the
undermining
increase in
individual privacy.
cybercrime that will come by getting rid of end-to-end
How can you
encryption.
ensure that there's going to be an increase of cybercrime with end-to-end encryption?
How many people have read your text today?
I'm not sure. That
Probably just you, and it's probably just you and he sent them to.
Oh, yes. I agree with that because my phone
Thanks
is
to
end-to-end encryption.
Yes.
Yes, but I don't know if that's infallible. I don't know if a hacker broke into my phone because end-to-end encryption is not infallible. And neither is the side door access, but side door access allows for the exoneration of the innocent.
Kobe. All right. Okay. I understand what you mean by side door, but it's not a technical term. Can you please define it?
A side door, so the idea of a side door is that it uses a decryption key, which is going to be broken into, in essence, dozens of fragments. And every single little fragment of that key would need to be accessed for even a partial part of the evidence to be accessed. So it makes it much more secure and also allows for lawful access from the government. And mind you, any type of key or any type of decoding must go through the legal process.
Who
before
holds
it can
these
be-
keys or these generated?
It is individual sub-governmental organizations that have been vetted.
And I can
As
ask
I
you the
mentioned,
same thing.
Are they 100% secure?
Can you ensure that encryption is 100% secure?
Yes. When
you
two
cannot.
ends meet and form a key, the keys are destroyed and can only be reconnected when they meet each other. So yes.
Yes, but encryption can also be undermined. I agree that it is very secure, but
End-to-end encryption, when two ends meet and are required to form a fully vetted key with both the temporary key and the permanent access key, it cannot be broken.
you want to respond?
We've seen multiple cases where end-to-end encryption has been broken, as previously stated for Microsoft, before they had adopted the side door program, which is much less vulnerable to attacks and
Compared
also
to
allows
end-to-end
for
encryption?
and allows for governments to access it much more easily.
So you said that side door encryption is more secure than end-to-end encryption.
No, it's more valuable.
Yes.
Valuable in what way?
It allows for the exoneration of the innocent. We're allowing innocent people to go to jail.
You're ignoring the
And you're-
17,000 people whose cases are being stalled just because of stubborn private companies who are still using end-to-end encryption.
And sacrificing everyone's digital privacy.
As we have stated, we're not sacrificing everyone's privacy. We're
You're
simply allowing the
sacrificing a
government to
portion
have
of it.
legal access.
You just admitted
Yes,
that
for the
you are
exoneration
decreasing
of
it.
thousands.
And do you
And how
still
much do you
trust
think you're
the
losing?
government to control all your data and that these other
Every
governments
global
and
government?
other global
Right now, the government's controlling all my data. That
Every
wouldn't
global
change.
government, and they're not.
That's our time.
All right, I gotta say later. The whole point of this is because the government isn't controlling your data.
I'll be doing the final focus for this round for Pro. Today's round comes down to one decisive question. Should privacy tools become immunity tools? The Pro has shown clearly that the status quo of absolute impenetrable encryption is failing public safety, failing justice, and ultimately failing democracy. Our advocacy is not for mass surveillance or universal backdoors. It is for targeted, warrant-based lawful access that restores the meaning of the Fourth Amendment in a digital age. First, remember our uncontested premise. Encryption as currently implemented is not neutral. It is actively enabling harm. With 90% of crimes containing a digital component and over 17,000 cases already stalled for lack of access, even with warrants, we have a lawless space where child abusers, drug traffickers, and weapons dealers operate freely. Negative never provided a mechanism to address this harm. They simply accept it. We don't. Second, digital lockouts don't just protect the guilty, they punish the innocent. Department of Justice research confirms that encrypted evidence often blocks exoneration. When victims can't get justice and the wrongfully accused can't prove their innocence, that is not privacy. That is obstruction. Only our world safeguards both safety and due process. Third, the con's central fear that lawful access would undermine cybersecurity collapses under scrutiny. They warn that other governments and hackers will exploit the system, but that only applies to the outdated master key model we are not advancing. We defend multi-custodian key-splitting frameworks where no single actor, not the government, not tech companies, not foreign adversaries, can access data alone. These systems are already used in banking, nuclear command, and multinational investigations like the aforementioned Operation Venetic, which protected user privacy while dismantling violent criminal networks. Their domestic security turn becomes a reason to vote. Okay. Can I just restart the sentence? Do you think it's fine?
You can finish that count.
Okay. The con is left defending absolutism, a world where any warrant can be nullified by a lock screen, where criminals flourish behind unbreakable walls, and where constitutional checks are rendered meaningless. For safety, for fairness, and for a system where a warrant actually means something, we strongly affirm the resolution. Thank you.
Partners ready?
Yes.
Opponents ready?
Yes.
My time begins now. My opponents just stated that their text messages are already being seen by the government. This is entirely false. The whole point of this debate is if we should allow them to see this information. End-to-end encryption makes it so encryption is only decryptable by the parties involved in sending and receiving this message, by forcing them to combine a shared key that is attached to the message itself. Allowing government to have lawful access to our private lives is a slippery slope. They stated several countries that are already doing this, allowing them to have access to digital information. Many of these countries are also passing laws criminalizing digital speech. When will this stop? How far will this go? The term lawful is extremely subjective, and not every country sees it the way America does. My opponents neglect an extremely important part of these arguments. Criminals are people not following the law, meaning that if you make end-to-end encryption illegal, criminals will likely still do it. I will not sacrifice the safety of the innocent in favor of pursuing criminals. This is why we must support end-to-end encryption and prioritize the safety of innocent people on the internet.
Okay. All set. Thank you. Good round.
Thanks for watching today's debate. And if you're interested in learning more about debate in Vermont, please contact me at Burton, and have a great day.